Joining us now for what was a wild weekend on the Sunday shows is Democratic strategist and ROKK Solutions Senior Advisor Kristen Hawn, and in New York is E. O'Brien Murray, a Republican strategist and Red Barn Strategies founder. All right, I'll start with you, Kristen.
Okay.
As we head into this, it would appear that President Trump has largely kept this impeachment inquiry in the political realm and has not lost any Republican support.
I mean, I wouldn't say, I think it's early, right? And, you know, as somebody who's been more in the center left, I'm very wary politically about how this is going to play out over the next year, headed into the election in 2020. I don't see his support eroding right now, but I think what you saw is a lot of independents and a lot of center-left Democrats taking a look at this and for the first time saying, okay, we've got to have an inquiry. We've got to look into this. This is unacceptable behavior by the President of the United States.
All right, Obi, Kristen's saying as a Democrat that essentially this has not left the political realm. But my question for you now is, if this continues to go on and this continues to go longer and longer, are Republicans at risk for having to, maybe make a new political calculation in the Senate the longer this drumbeat goes on?
Kevin, the brilliant woman in Washington sitting right next to you should be, Nancy Pelosi should be listening to her right now. The fact that she is weary, the fact that she says alone she is weary where this is going to go is exactly it. Nancy Pelosi has lost all credibility right now in trying to corral all her members. They are now dictating to her where it goes. That happened last Tuesday. The president announced he was going to release a transcript, release information, and they still had their own caucus come out and say, we're going after him tonight. They wouldn't even wait 24 hours. She has lost all control, number one. Number two, any of this disclosure that's out there, any of this conversation, transparency is fantastic for the American people, but any of this impeachment talk is bad for the Democrats and good for Warren at this point.
Yeah, but Obi, take a look at this opinion poll that we've seen where people seem to be more open to accepting an impeachment inquiry into the Ukraine issue more than the Mueller investigation. So
if you're the average,
how big will the polls play into this narrative then?
If you're the average American and all you saw were the headlines on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning and things of that sort, you're going to want the same thing too. But all that started and all the reporting was before the transcript came out. That's what the American people wanted to see and hear. The polling goes out. The headlines are out. The headlines with the transcript weren't out until Thursday. So any of this polling, you have to wonder where it really is. People want it, no question about it. We want transparency. But you have to have it in the right fashion, and it can't be about politics. You can't beat this president at the ballot box, so they have to go after him for impeachment.
Kristen, Republicans have already framed this as Democrats wanting to tank the economy with the impeachment proceedings. How will Democrats be able to justify this?
Well, I mean, I don't think that anybody wants to tank the economy, just like I don't think that, my counterparts on the Republican side would want that either. So I think those allegations are blatantly false. But I think, there are a lot of these members, when we were talking about it last week, and particularly said on Thursday, when they saw that report, not transcript, a report come out of the White House itself, it came to a point where they had to say that they were okay with moving forward with, with an inquiry.
But Speaker Pelosi's under, I mean, you and I have talked about this. The pressure that Speaker Pelosi is under from the left, the progressives in her party to do impeachment has been going on for months. If she didn't do this,
I would actually take I would go back to what my friend was saying about losing control of the caucus. I actually don't believe that's the case.
Why?
I think that
really, AOC?
No, I do. She had resisted when they've been calling that wing of the party been calling it for months and months and months, and she didn't. And she moved forward only when the front line and some of the more moderate members who had the tougher races came forward and said, okay, we're okay with going forward now. So I think she's listening to her caucus in a lot of ways.
Go ahead, Obi.
I think the transparency I'm talking about is fantastic. In August, Politico had a story headlined Biden Inc. about both his sons, about his brother, about Joe Biden. I'm not pointing to anything in particular he personally has done. People around him there's questions about. John Kerry's stepson, there's question about his partnership with Biden that was in the papers today. The Washington Post this weekend had tremendous stories about this. I'm not saying that anyone did anything illegal, but in this process of impeachment, when you have any of these conversations, perception's reality. And that's what the American people want to hear about. That was the polling you were talking about. And that's where Nancy Pelosi is going to lose total and utter control when Jerry Nadler can't control a committee, and they're going to try to push it over to Adam Schiff, and there's going to be their own fighting in the conference about where this committee ends up holding it.
So does it make more sense for Mitch McConnell when it comes to the Senate to actually prolong this fight and keep it as long as they want? Or does it make more sense for Nancy Pelosi to try to speed things up and get this done and get it over with?
I think what Pelosi's going to find is the longer it goes on, the worse it is for Democrats, because there'll be more conversation. That's what's going to happen. The more conversation for Democrats, the worse it is.
Kristen, so how important is it for Pelosi to keep the focus very narrowly focused on the Ukraine issue so the public will have an easier time understanding this issue?
I mean, I think it's extraordinarily important, and I think it's a good thing that the inquiry is going to go through the Intel Committee under the leadership of Congressman Schiff. So I think that was a strategic move by the Speaker in making sure that we control this narrative, because I agree, whoever controls the narrative over the next year over impeachment is going to win this debate.
But I don't want to litigate, wait, I don't want to litigate Joe Biden, whether or not Ukraine is good or bad for Joe Biden. But Kristen, if Biden goes down in the polls, who is a centrist candidate that is most... Not Warren, not Sanders, but who do you have your eye on?
I don't know if we have a centrist candidate.
Oh, really?
I just said the same thing.
I think Buttigieg definitely. I think that a lot of these guys are going to have to come back in a general. We all know what a primary is like. You're going to have to come back towards the center in a general election. So, you know, I think all of them have the ability to do that. Pete Buttigieg probably being the
winner in this is Elizabeth Warren, unequivocally. Unequivocally, Elizabeth Warren wins on this. The more that Joe Biden goes down, the challenge is going to be really Bernie Sanders, and when he decides to step away, endorse Elizabeth Warren, and let the party go so far left, I'm going to love it.
Obi, we'll have to have you back to dissect that new scenario. Obi Murray, Red Barn Strategist founder, and also thank you to Kristen Hawn, ROKK Solutions Senior Advisor. And coming up, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac take another step toward freeing themselves from government control. The latest next. This is Bloomberg.